welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am so excited for tonight's episode because I absolutely love him already, and you will too. So I want you to stay right there. Remember that this is pre-recorded, so you are able to speak in the chat. If you have a question, we'll be there. I'll be there in the chat, and you can leave a comment, leave a question, and we will do our very best to get back to you. Things are picking up here at Living Theosophy, so which is a very good thing. And I want to let you know I will get back to the comments as soon as I possibly can. So meanwhile, let's get to it. Our guest tonight is a gentle, beautiful soul named Charlie Bannon. Charlie is the founder and director of the Nooetic Center Limited, that's with 2 O's, Nooetic Center Limited, which offers counseling, psychotherapy, and mental health social work through video conferencing to people anywhere in the world. Charlie uses an integrative approach to his work, using modern scientific evidence-based approaches to promote mental health recovery. Listen to this. He also incorporates universal principles into his approach, as expressed in the philosophies of ancient civilizations. So mysticism from ancient civilizations. Charlie wishes to serve humanity. He wishes to serve humanity through the promotion of optimal mental health with the integration of mysticism and science. Now that's so important that I'm going to read that sentence again, because that's the whole reason we're here. Charlie wishes to serve humanity through the promotion of optimal mental health via the integration of mysticism and science. But that's not all. Charlie also has a passion for martial arts and the ultimate teacher, of course, nature. Charlie lectured for 3 years on the social work master's course at UCD, which is the University College Dublin, but now prefers to speak to anyone who is interested in what he has to say, and that would be us tonight. Charlie is available for counseling, psychotherapy, or mental health social work. You can contact him via his website, which is the noeticenter.com. Is that org or com? Com, right? Yeah. And that's Nooetic with 2 O's. So it's Nooetic, thenoeticenter.com. And also there are lots of free videos, which is really picking up over on the Charles Bannon YouTube channel. Now I want you to right now pause this video, go subscribe at Charles Bannon YouTube channel. I promise you, you will not regret it. And one final thing before we get started is that despite what his friends say, Charlie tells incredibly hilarious jokes. And so Charlie, with that, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Charlie Bannon and his favorite joke. Charlie?
Okay. I think I need this joke because I feel I have a lot to live up to after that introduction. Thank you very much for having
You
me
are
on.
going to live up to it.
But my joke of the week this time is, what kind of ring did the rabbit give to his girlfriend?
Okay, what kind of ring did a rabbit give to his girlfriend?
Okay, 24 carats.
What?
A 24 carat ring.
Oh, God. Carrots, a 24 carat ring. Very, very good. I love these. These are like dad jokes. Do you have another?
People are tuning out already. I know.
No, they're not. They're flooding in. The internet is breaking. It's heaving. YouTube's bandwidth just snapped. Do you have another one?
Okay, another one. Did you hear about the 2 guys who robbed a calendar?
Oh, no, the 2 guys who robbed a calendar. No.
Yeah, they got 6 months each.
I love them. I just want to do this all the whole hour and then do another hour later. I have one for you, honey. Are you ready? Okay, let's see if I can remember how to tell it. Okay. You know, these days, and now in 2021, there aren't people that are named Lance often. You know that, right?
Lance?
They're not named Lance, but in the medieval times, people were named Lance a lot.
Oh, well, okay, that's a good one. I haven't heard that one before.
I mess it up every time I do, but I tried to, think of that because I know that you had really good jokes. So it's really wonderful to open with comedy. I love that because that's one of the things, Charlie, is that spirituality for some reason has this thing where you need to be serious and pious and perfect and well-dressed, and you study on Sunday and then you go about your regular life the rest of the week and 23 hours on Sunday. But that 1 hour is spirituality. But laughter and pain and music, that's all part of spirituality, is it not?
Absolutely. Laughter is part of the defined power of the human spirit.
Oh,
have you ever heard that phrase before?
No, say that again, please.
The defined power of the human spirit. So to explain where I'm coming from, one of my heroes is Viktor Frankl.
Yes, yes.
So
Tell us.
he was a psychiatrist, a neurologist, and a philosopher from Vienna, and he came up with meaning-centered therapy in 1933.
Say that, what
So
was it? Centered therapy? Would you?
meaning-centered therapy.
Meaning centered
So
therapy.
so it's
Okay.
called logotherapy.
Hmm.
And he ended up as a prisoner in the concentration camps in World War II, where he survived for 3 years. And one of the things he did to survive was to, he had some friends there, and they had an agreement that every day they would tell each other a joke or a funny story,
Oh.
so that they would use humor to try and rise above their suffering, even for a brief moment.
Mm. It's such
And
connection too. There's a lot of connection when humans laugh together. There's a joyful space that you both join, isn't there? A healing space.
yeah,
Like they say, what is the phrase that you say? Laughter is the best medicine, right? But
yeah, and there's truth to that, because laughter does reduce tension and anxiety and stress.
oh,
And if you can reduce stress and anxiety, that is helpful to the immune system.
see,
So when COVID started back in March of 2020, well, here in Ireland, when it started in March 2020, I set up a WhatsApp group with my siblings,
mhm.
and we agreed to tell each other a joke every
Oh,
day.
did you? Do you? Is that where do you get your jokes?
Oh, I've been doing this a long time. When I was a child, I wanted a career as a stand-up comedian, but I never quite made the grade. That's what I want to be when I grow up.
Well, I think you probably can incorporate that into your practice, and you, in a way, you kind of are, because you're bringing them joy and laughter when they're dealing with something that's very serious and not funny at all.
Yeah, sometimes I find with clients, okay, you have to be careful where and when you do this, but it is appropriate to bring humor in at times. So it's about service, it's about giving the person what they need. And sometimes what they need is to laugh.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to laugh a little bit more and stop taking things so serious. We take things really, really serious and we carry it around and we make it way bigger than it needs to be. So, would you say that I did stand up comedy for a very short period of time when I was 19? I remember somebody telling me that laughter or yeah, comedy is pain turned around in a mirror, that it is something that is not funny at the time when it happens, but when it's reflected, it's because you can relate to it that makes it funny. Would you say that that's true?
Um, I guess, I mean, I can think of painful times in my own life, but when I look back, I see the humor in it.
Yeah, yeah. So when you look back,
Yeah,
there's time. Pain plus time is what they say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I,
Oh,
I, I honestly, I haven't thought deeply about humor, but I know it does relieve stress and anxiety. And somebody said to me once, we were organizing a community get together, and we were wondering how are we going to attract the public. So this guy said, well, people like food and people like funny.
mm-hmm.
So we held the event at lunchtime. We provided free lunch, and we got a comedian in to talk about mental health and to tell jokes at the same time. So he talked about his own depression and his own suicidality and his attempts at suicide. But he was very skillful at bringing in humor. It was like he spoke about a very serious topic, but took the tension out of it for people by bringing in humor.
Yeah, we need to do that more, especially with the, as you call them, you're the one that I picked it up from when instead of saying the sacred ancient mysteries and trying to explain it that way, you call them universal principles. So, which is, well, I mean, not just you, but I mean, you were the one who said that is a good palatable way to describe these ancient teachings of truth. You call them universal principles. I had one question about the comedian really quick. How did you find somebody who could bring up something so powerful, so painful, and also incorporate humor? How did you find him?
Well, it was through a community development project. So people knew people, and people just make connections, So I didn't find the person; it was one of the people involved in the community development project that
It's
heard
a
of this
very
person and made contact.
Oh, but that's such a beautiful idea. I think in these teachings that again they take so seriously. What are your thoughts on incorporating humor to these teachings? Do you find some people go, oh, you can't laugh about it? Like I do TikToks about the theosophical teachings. I try to make them funny. I do songs and things like that. Not them funny, but the presentation and my experience with them funny because it is funny. I mean, that's what life is all about. And if you can't laugh at yourself, you can't, you don't have a sense of humor. You got to have a sense of humor. It's one of the things Blavatsky said is that you need to have common sense and a sense of humor. So what are your thoughts on incorporating spirituality or these universal principles with humor in your work and other work before we get into you?
I think everyone has their own idea of what they find funny.
Oh,
So
that's
I
true.
could tell you a joke and you might find it offensive, but I won't intend it to be that way.
I
So I
understand.
think humor can be used to put people down as well. So you've got to be very careful.
That's wise.
Avoid racism, avoid
Yeah.
undermining people from a different social background and so on.
Mm,
But if it's appropriate and if it's done in a kind-hearted way,
mm,
a person-centered way, it can lift somebody up.
mm.
But the thing about humor, okay, like there's nothing in this life that's perfect, and we as human beings are not perfect, and we can end up getting so stressed every time we make a mistake.
Mm.
But I say that we are designed to make mistakes.
Yeah, it's how we learn,
Uh,
isn't it?
we are. That's the way it goes, and it's sometimes it's hard to accept that because we have all these ideas imposed that you cannot make a mistake. You have to do it right. If you're a surgeon, for example,
Mhm.
and you're doing life-saving surgery, you don't want to make a mistake there.
You can't. I mean, that's the thing is they have such a huge, sometimes there is a mistake made. And I'm thinking, if you
Yeah,
think of all the other jobs, all the other mistakes we make, those guys are under so much pressure to go ahead and be
yeah,
completely, inhuman. And yeah, you can't. I understand,
yeah,
but sometimes it does happen. But you're right. You're right.
yeah. So I had to deal with the surgeon back in September
Hmm.
because I had a tumor removed from my
Oh,
kidney,
did you?
and
Bless
and
you.
he was saying he was explaining before the operation, there are things that can go wrong. Yeah, so he was being open and honest about this.
Mhm.
He said most of the time things don't go wrong. So, like he just wanted to make sure I was informed before I agreed to the surgery.
Yeah.
And I said, so it's probably 1 in 100,000 that goes wrong. And he said, more like 1 in 50. And I cracked up laughing.
He goes, count back from 100. Bye bye. What happened then?
I just gathered myself. So there's a 98% chance that everything's going to be fine.
Yeah,
And I said, look, I cannot leave that tumor in there. I cannot leave that cancer in there.
has to be
Go
done.
ahead. It just lightens the tension of the situation.
It does. And I think we need more humor. So I think I'd like to make these a little bit lighter, more palatable, more fun. I think we need to have fun. And before we go further, I want to say we're talking to Charlie, who has just gotten off work. He's working from home in Ireland. Yeah. And he's taken this time with us
Yes.
here in Ireland. And he has quite a story. And I want to be able to cover all the stuff that he's doing, especially what we talked about in the introduction. The way we met is he commented on one of these videos. I can't remember which one it was, but he sent this little comment. And I thought there's something about the way this person is writing, what he's saying. He's got his finger on the pulse of something. So I contacted him through YouTube. So thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Living Theosophy channel. I'm grateful I reached out to Charlie because Charlie, I'd like to start, maybe we can start from the beginning and then start about how it is that you have decided to go ahead and do this really quick before we start at the beginning. How many other mental health professionals do you know that incorporate mysticism into their practice right now at this time?
Hmm. Well, as a mental health professional, anything you do, you've got to be able to explain it with scientific evidence-based
Hmm.
approaches. So I can do that. Everything I do, I can explain it with that. But probably the most mystical scientific evidence-based approach is, well, two of them. One is probably logotherapy, and the other is mindfulness-based cognitive therapy.
Hmm. Okay.
And how many people do I know?
Yeah.
There are very,
I'm-
very few professionals who practice logotherapy. And I did research as to why. The question was, does it still apply today?
Mhm.
And the answer was yes, it does.
Good.
But I asked my participants, why do so few therapists use it? And the answer I got back is because it's one of the most difficult ones to use. It tunes into the spiritual dimension of the human being.
God, I love
And it's more of a challenge because you cannot apply this to others unless you apply it to yourself. It's
that.
not,
Brilliant. Brilliant. Let's say that one more time. That is a
you
powerful
cannot apply
statement.
it to others if you do not apply it to yourself. Like logotherapy is not simply intellectual.
Mm.
So a colleague introduced me to Viktor Frankl and logotherapy. So that was a fellow social worker at the time who was using logotherapy in her practice. I only know of about maybe 4 or 5 in Ireland. Well, actually, one is in Argentina.
Oh,
It's
okay.
more popular in Argentina, apparently. But so I started out as a social worker. Well, started out at the age of 37 as a social worker.
That's still hard. You're still young, but that's a big
Yeah, yeah.
leap up to that. Yeah.
So I was looking at all these theoretical approaches, and they did make some degree of sense to me. But counselling and psychotherapy, I mean, years later, I did a master's in counselling and psychotherapy. But what made the difference was knowing logotherapy. I was integrating it into my social work approach, my mental health social work approach.
Mm-hmm.
And I got as many Viktor Frankl books as I could, and I read them, and it was like he wrote them for me. Okay, now he did and he didn't. He wrote them for humanity, to help humanity ease their suffering, to help humanity find meaning in this chaotic, crazy world that we live in. So I started to read his books, and what I read was exactly what I needed at the time, back in 2015, thereabouts. And it felt like he died in 1997, but it felt like he was speaking to me through his books.
It's so
And
powerful. The things that come out of your mouth, I must stop you. The things that come out of your mouth are so very valuable. They are so valuable. What he's talking about, he is blazing a trail. I don't mean to talk about you in third person. I'm talking to the camera. I'm talking to you guys that are watching Charlie. I want you to listen to what he's saying. He's taking this and actually doing it when not many people on this planet are doing it. And he's incorporating this, what he's talking about, these writings here to help humanity. That is truly living Theosophy. And the Theosophy, that name is not just the name of this channel. That's what I would hope that we can do, is actually become these teachings. Again, Charlie is a guest here on this channel today, but you can find him, and he goes live quite often over on the Charles Bannon YouTube channel. I want to see if you can please get over there. It's still brand new, kind of ish. We only have 15 subscribers as of the date, maybe 15, 16 by the time this airs. As today, this is February 2021. So I'd like to see that big and fat. The more people over there, the better. It's not about Charlie being a star. It has nothing to do with Charlie. It's about it's what he's doing and how you can have access to these teachings in your life. They're principles that you can apply and will help you as well. So again, doing a shout out here to interrupt you. Sorry, Charlie. Sorry, to interrupt you and be able to promote this amazing YouTube channel, which is the way that we connected. And you can connect with him over there too. It's the Charles Bannon. He goes by Charlie, but it's the Charles Bannon YouTube channel set up by, I think, your brother-in-law or something set that up and called you Charles.
My brother set it up, yeah.
Oh, he did. Well, anyway, I'd like to see you over there because he's starting to go live and do these broadcasts where he's connecting with you. And just the things that you say, Charlie, it's beautiful. This is truly, I mean, we have the presentations and things like that, the theosophical teachings, but you're doing it in 2021. You are becoming these teachings and actually doing them rather than just reading about them or studying them. You're doing them.
Yeah, so these are universal principles that are accessible to anyone who tunes into them. They're not mine.
Yes.
They're not any societies or organizations. If being a member of an organization helps you to tune in, and if it floats your boat, then go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But not
You don't
something
have
you have to do.
You don't
No,
have to.
It's
Yeah.
there. It's just there.
Mm-hmm. Can you say that again really quick? Because I say it all the time, but when you say it, it sounds even more emphatic and clear. When you say I say they belong to all and solely to none. It's right there. You can have it. This is the Holy Grail. This is what you've been looking for. All of the world's religions, sciences, and philosophies boil down these universal principles. You can find them in the teachings of Theosophy, but not just Theosophy. You can find them in Theosophy is the best paradigm for me right now to actually see all these teachings, but they are ancient. They go back as far as time itself. Charlie, how would you say that? Like you said before, you said everybody has access to
them. Everybody has access to them. This time is an illusion. It's just how we perceive the world around us. It's there, and we can access it. It's possible to access it. Nature can just take you, and you can be there with it, or you can perceive it, and you realize this is something you can live in your day-to-day life. And as you say, it's been expressed for millennia in all over the world in all different civilizations. In the philosophies, I would say, of of religions. I'm not a religious person myself, and I respect the fact that some people are.
Mhm.
And sometimes I speak to people who are religious, and they, through their religion, that's how they understand life, but they tune into those universal principles as well,
Mhm.
according to their own understanding.
I was just going to say, I've said, and I want to let you know, we could get some backlash because I've said that before. And I have been, I don't know, nasty comments came in, not nasty, just there's just comments. People are just reflecting how they're feeling at the moment. But when I said you can be an atheist and practice these principles, I got a lot of flack. I wanted to see what your thought is on that. How would you defend that statement? Because I still believe it's true. You can be an atheist and still tap into nature and understand that you are a part of something much bigger. I say atheist means you're not a religion person. But what would you say to that, Charlie?
I know what I'm saying is true because I practice it with people. I find out what does the person in front of me need, what do they need to progress in their life, what is meaningful to them,
Yeah.
and I give it to them. And I cannot do, okay, we've got cognitive behavioral therapy, we've got mindfulness practice, we've got psychodynamics, we've got all these different approaches to counselling and psychotherapy and to social work as well. But when the person in front of me, I try to find out what's meaningful to them. And sometimes they might tell me they're an atheist, sometimes they might tell me they're religious,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes they're, there's all sorts of people out there. But what I do, it works for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone tells you that these universal principles are not accessible to everyone, let me give you an example. Have you heard of the parable of the blind men trying to understand what an elephant is?
No, I mean, I think I might have, but I can't say I can recall it. Please tell me.
It comes from Buddhist philosophy.
Mm.
So you have all these men who are blind from birth, and they're trying to understand what an elephant is.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, in India, in Indian philosophy, an elephant represents wisdom.
Mm.
Okay, so one of them feels the elephant's trunk, and he says, "Oh, an elephant is like a snake."
Mm.
Another one feels the elephant's leg and says, "Oh, it's like a tree trunk." Another one touches the elephant's tail and says, "No, no, no, it's like a rope." The other one touches the tusk and says, "It's like a plow." Another one touches the side of the elephant and says, "It's like a barn, big shed." And they all start arguing with each other because, no, I'm right and you're wrong,
Yeah.
is the attitude. So that is the cause of so many wars and arguments and disharmony in this world. So I see whatever part of the elephant that I see, and I understand that others see other parts.
Mm-hmm.
So occasionally somebody will introduce me to another part of the elephant, but none of us have all wisdom. None of us know everything.
It's so true.
We can progress if we're open to it. We can progress. And then others, I think, they stick to the part of the elephant that they know because they feel secure in that. It's kind of scary to let go of what you believe to be true, and maybe to take another person's point of view. You see, to progress in life, to move on, there is a feeling of instability at some stage.
Mm.
You're letting go of what's familiar. But if you just flow with it and steady the ship, actually, let me tell you about
Yes.
Noah's Ark is one of those symbolic myths from the Bible
Mm-hmm.
that is reflected in so many different cultural civilizations around the world.
Yes.
They're all in Native Americans. I can't even remember, but there are so many myths that are symbolic stories of what we actually go through psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
So in ancient times, they had mythology to symbolically explain what's going on for us. So if you have the ark or there's a big flood coming, the wise people gather a ship, they gather all they will need to survive the flood. And they stay on that ship until the flood subsides and the land is available again and people can go on the land. But on that ship, they have what they need to survive. Okay, so for example, during these COVID times, there's a lot of instability. People feel out of sorts because of lockdown. Maybe they've got illness. Maybe they've got COVID themselves. Maybe they've lost loved ones. There's a lot of pain and suffering, and I hear a lot of people talking about when are we going to get back to normal.
Yeah.
I think the new normal is going to be different. One of the reasons I started my YouTube channel is to give people what they need to survive this storm or this flood that we're going through. So mindfulness practice is something that it reduces the drama in our life. It reduces fear. It reduces anxiety. It helps us to focus on what is rather than what we fear might be.
Mm-hmm.
And also to have meaning in the crisis as well. So it causes us to use the instability as it will use you. I think there's something in the voice of the silence, to use your thoughts as they will be. Yeah, so illness, I mean, I nearly died from meningitis 2 years ago. I had a diagnosis of cancer. Okay, I'm okay. It turned out that the tumor was benign, but I didn't know that for 4 months.
Oh my God.
And I was at sea on my little raft with mindfulness, my provisions, and my trying to find meaning in the situation. So I was really frustrated and angry and saying, why me? Because I exercise, I eat as healthy as I can, and saying, I was cleaning out this room that I'm in. There was a bunch of papers on the desk in front of me here, and I was looking at what needs to be thrown out, what needs to be kept, and I was asked in my head, why did I have to get cancer? And immediately I picked up a piece of paper, and there was a quote on that paper that I wrote down about 2 years earlier. I've forgotten about it. And the immediate answer to why did I get cancer was, you were assigned this mountain to show others that it can be moved.
Oh my God. It's so beautiful.
That's a quote by Stephanie Lynn. So it was, you were assigned this mountain to show others that it can be moved.
Oh.
Okay, now I get it. Now I know why I got it. So I was like, wow, okay. So if you go into Jungian psychology, he would call that a synchronicity.
Yes.
Now, many people would say it's a coincidence.
No, I don't think there's any coincidences. Do you? Do you think there's?
Well, I don't think it was a coincidence, but I know others will see it that way. But
Yeah.
see it however you want. Anyway, the point is, it helped me to start to overcome fear. And I realized the mountain wasn't just the tumor that had to be removed. It was also fear. It was also the anger I was feeling at getting that diagnosis. It was also the ignorance. I mean, now I know what it's like to be told you've got cancer. I can empathize with someone who gets that diagnosis. Hopefully I'm better than at helping them on their journey through that.
You have a very empathetic heart. You have not just sympathy, but you have empathy. You have like an understanding, instead of just like it's happening to them and I'm sad that that's happening, but you're not like that. It seems like you take it on and you feel it yourself. Would you consider yourself an empath, Charlie?
Oh, I most definitely am an empath. Yeah, I feel the vibe of people. As soon as you make contact with me and we started speaking, or even looking at you in the videos that you've put out there, I said, oh yeah, I get this person. But I do. I was in Madrid one time years ago with my wife, and my first son was a toddler, and I was going through a metro station,
Mhm.
and there were hundreds of people there in the station, and I could feel this energy coming towards us, and it felt ominous.
Oh,
It
really?
really scared me, and I just moved my wife and son out of the way to avoid it. And then eventually I saw the guy who was walking in our direction, and I felt the vibe of him I was going, oh, wow.
Really? Go ahead. What
Excuse
did he
me?
look like? What was his vibe when you say he passed by you? What did he have? Dark intentions, do you believe? Or was he in a sad space or a dark space?
Uh, Look, it felt like a dark space. I couldn't read his mind, but I was very uncomfortable with his energy, and I felt that he had done some terrible things in his life and was capable of doing terrible things.
Wow. Did he have dark eyes?
Uh,
Did he have when some people say the vacuous dark eyes are a telltale of, and as you know, being in mental health, is that something that shows, I don't know, not psychopath, but somebody that is detached from empathy, somebody who doesn't have empathy? Do you notice when you look in their eyes, can you see something?
That particular guy, I remember his eyes. They were looking straight ahead, and there was an emptiness about them.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to clarify one thing.
Mm.
the vast majority of people who are diagnosed with a mental health issue,
Mhm.
they're not dangerous.
Mhm.
The I mean, 98, 99%. And if they do something that's dangerous, it's probably because, honestly, it's probably because of the attitude of the mental health professional.
Mhm. That makes sense. I'd like to
Right?
say that one more time, just really quick, because that's really important, is that what Charlie just said is that majority of the people that are diagnosed with a mental health uh, diagnosis are not dangerous. Can you repeat that, please?
Mm-mm. Yeah, the vast majority of people who have been diagnosed with a mental, I don't like the term mental illness,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have a psychiatric diagnosis,
yeah.
they're not dangerous.
Yeah, because you have that experience one-on-one, but it's so important what you're saying to say this. This is somebody who has degrees in this mental health world. He is a social worker. He has been there. I want to repeat to you, if something can go wrong with our knees, our toes, our nose, it can go wrong with our brain as well. So what he's saying is so very valuable. Thank you, Charlie, for saying that, because
Yeah, I mean, I'm a
there's a
social
stigma.
worker, I'm a psychotherapist, I'm a counselor, and I've had depression. Depression is seen as a mental illness.
Yes.
I
Is it a mental
remember
illness, in your opinion? Is it a mental illness, in your opinion?
well, according to the DSM, it is. According to my psychiatric colleagues, it is.
Mm.
But I remember at one stage having a chat with a psychiatrist, and she mentioned something about depression being a mental illness, and I said, "That's not a mental illness. That's what happens to you when crappy things happen in your life.
Oh, yeah, it's
You know,
true.
if you've been through a trauma, or you've been abused, or you've, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's a natural reaction to
Yeah.
something traumatic." I prefer to look on what's called schizophrenia or bipolar or depression. I prefer to look on them as life experiences.
Life experience is this lifetime, you mean?
Yes, this
Oh,
lifetime.
this lifetime.
There's a guy who is called Peter Bollymore,
Mhm.
and I mention his name because he's very open about this, and he's on the internet. And I attended training with him a few years ago. He's from Sheffield in England. A good strong Yorkshire accent, but and he's a really nice guy as well. But he was I attended training about how to support people who hear voices, and he doesn't believe in schizophrenia. Now I wonder, because I've seen people, their quality of life has improved because they've taken medication. I would never tell someone don't take medication, but he had a very different experience. So in his case, he spent 10 years on a psychiatric ward. 10 years. Now, I'm not sure what the policy is over there, but here in Ireland, if someone ends up in a psychiatric ward, the objective is to get them well enough so they can get back to the community as quickly as possible.
Mhm.
So that might be you're in for a few days,
Yeah.
or maybe a couple of weeks at a long stretch. But he was there for 10 years.
Phew, it's a long,
And
it's a
you
long.
can imagine what that did to his self-belief, his self-esteem. He ended up homeless. But he says he ended up hearing voices. Now, as a child, he was sexually abused.
Mhm.
And he said from he, at some stage after the 10 years, he came across this other approach called the Maastricht interview,
Mhm.
which looks at the hearing voices as a consequence of trauma. So Peter explains it like sexual abuse is so traumatic, or traumatic events are so traumatic, especially for a child, that your brain is trying to figure out what's going on here. So you might have horrible thoughts about yourself. Um, in some cases, those thoughts take the form of voices.
Hmm.
So he was telling us that he still hears the voices of 3 people who abused him,
Oh, the
but he
abusers.
doesn't care the fact that he hears them anymore. They still say horrible things to him, but he doesn't care because he's learned to process the whole experience. Those voices are with him. But not only that, another voice he heard was something that inspired him to write a book, a children's story.
Mm.
So the voice dictated the book to him. And once he wrote that book, the voice left.
Really,
And
that's
then
so
the fifth
beautiful.
voice that he hears, is that of his deceased mother.
Oh my gosh.
And he can call on her voice at any stage. She'll answer any question that he has.
Does she have
And
abilities that are beyond this realm? Would he say that that is his mother, or it is the voice of his mother? Is it actually his mother?
he says it's the voice of his mother.
Okay. Yeah, I understand.
And I think he would say it is his mother.
Hmm.
But his mother's voice told him that his daughter was pregnant at one stage and told him the day and the hour that his granddaughter would be born. And
Oh
it
my
was so
God, the
early
day
in
and the hour, did
pregnancy.
you say? The day and the hour, is that what you said?
Yeah, the day and the hour that his granddaughter would be born.
Really?
And
That's really cool.
his daughter it was so early in the pregnancy, she didn't even know she was
Oh my,
pregnant. They
that's
said, oh,
amazing.
apparently I'm going to have a granddaughter born on such a day at such a time, and that's the way it turned out.
There has to be some intelligence there. Something is going on. So with the afterlife,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so if we come back to the elephant, I was looking on schizophrenia as one part of the element of the elephant,
Hmm.
but he was showing me another part.
Yeah.
So I said it cannot all be about illness.
Right. It isn't. And then I wanted to ask, while we're on the schizophrenic part, the voices and past lives. Do you bring in any past life experience? Any figuring out that the soul has been experiencing physical incarnations for a while, and possibly like Siamese twins, or I don't know, the voices is one thing, or child prodigies. What are your thoughts about past lives and in modern mental health work?
Well, the idea of past lives and reincarnation makes sense to me personally.
Mhm.
I don't know how to bring that into my work.
Do you ever see it in your work? Like you go, that obviously is something that is associated with a trauma, not from this life, but a previous one, or possibly.
I wouldn't have that knowledge. I wouldn't know.
Okay, I understand.
But I know someone else who does.
Who's that?
It's one of my mentors at the moment
Oh,
for
really?
psychotherapy. Yeah, yeah.
And they bring in past lives into present day situations and factor that in. That is
Um,
brilliant.
if the person needs it, sometimes it's not always about the past life situation. It's about what's going on in this life. But
Mhm,
where it is,
mhm.
she can help the person to resolve that.
That's beautiful. I'm glad to hear that that's being done, that that's being factored in, because a lot of the times it's dismissed or poo-pooed or seen as woo-woo and not a thing.
Yeah.
So that's
Well, the
what,
thing is, when I was 4 years old, I was in school, my first year in school,
yeah,
and I was looking at the calendar on the wall, and it was 1974.
yeah.
So I knew I was born in 1970, so I started doing the maths, and I said, well, that means I've only been around for 4 years, and that makes absolutely no sense.
That's wonderful, really? Did you?
Yeah, I was, when you're looking at something, I said, I can't figure this out. So I went home and I asked my parents, where was I before I was born? And
Really?
my mother said, oh, you were in my tummy. And I said, yeah, I know, but before that.
That's
And
so cool. That is
and
so cool.
they were laughing at me, and I was getting frustrated because they
Yeah,
didn't answer the question. I thought
because
they
it
knew
did.
the answer, but they just refused to tell me.
Mhm.
So
Did you ever
um,
talk to them about it? Were you ever able to share that with them, or did you grow out of it and forget about that question?
I forgot about it for many years.
I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Your childhood, since we're there, I'd like to talk about, you coming into this world with an empathetic heart, and a little bit of what led you to where you're going and why you chose this line of work. Do you want to give us a little backstory about you, just what you feel comfortable with, just to tell us a little bit about why you are where you're at, and how beautiful your heart is, how you navigated from there to here?
I won't say too much about my childhood out of
Yeah,
respect for others who have asked me to broadcast that
I
in
understand.
public because they were there too.
Yeah.
But at the age of 13, I was suicidal for the first time, and yeah, I couldn't tell anyone about that. I didn't know how to tell anyone. I was trying to think of a painless way to die.
At
So I
13.
was raised as a Catholic as well, and I was afraid of going to hell if I killed myself.
Yeah. Did you no one, you tell your parents, no brothers or sisters, you didn't say anything?
No, I told nobody, nobody. At the age of 17, I started to do martial arts,
Mm,
started to do kung fu, and that's when I started to feel I was getting some control in my life,
mhm.
and I was starting to enjoy life a little. Then things got really bad again when I was 19 years old, and suicidality came back.
Mm.
And about a year later, it got so bad, I went to this bridge in the town where I was living with the intention of jumping.
Oh.
And there was a raft race the year before, and some of my friends, the raft they built, it started to come apart when they got to this bridge because it was coming near the sea.
Mhm.
And they were strong swimmers. The raft started to sink, and they really struggled to make it to the shore.
Mhm.
So I thought this is a good place to go.
Oh gosh.
But as I was ready to go, I just felt a presence. I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything, but I felt a presence. And it was like, if you go, you're going to have to come back and face this at some other stage. So you face it now or you face it later on. And I didn't believe in reincarnation at the time. I'd
Really?
forgotten about my 4-year-old experience.
You little wise man. Yes.
And I was really the feeling that if my body died, I felt that I wouldn't die.
That's
I
true.
mean, my spiritual self wouldn't die.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really, really angry at this.
Mm.
And I didn't know what the presence was, but I made an assumption it was God, and I was swearing at God, how the hell dare you put me through this, you know?
Oh.
And with a lot of swearing thrown in here and there, I said, you better effing make it worth my while if I continue living.
Well, I think that's brilliant. You then
It's
chose
funny
to.
now.
Yeah,
It
it is
wasn't at
funny.
the time.
That's true. See, that's what we were talking about earlier. And what you just
Exactly,
said
yeah.
is almost verbatim in this. There's a video on this channel that talks about it. It is by William Q. Judge. It is about suicide, saying that we do not end at physical death. The physical body does, but the spirit, as you say, you can't get cut class. You have to stay and learn these lessons, and they will reveal themselves again, because this isn't your only show at the radio, or only, well, how they say that. This is not your only go at the radio, rodeo. Anyway, this is not
The radio.
the only time around. And so I'm so glad that you didn't. I think the world is a much better place with you in it. And I'm grateful that you were able to hear that and actually process it, because during that time of great sorrow where you're really at your wit's end, and many people get there and cross over, they're saying it's too painful. This is a place of great suffering, great suffering.
They're not doing it to hurt anyone.
No, they're not.
I know
Yeah.
loved ones are devastated when it happens.
Yes.
And they say, could I have done something to prevent this? Probably not. I don't believe so.
No.
People make their own decision.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not doing it to hurt anyone. I mean, research shows, and my experience shows, and I mean, my personal experience and my professional experience shows that when you are in that state of mind, you're not able to think of anyone else.
No.
I mean, I've asked people, I'm very comfortable dealing with people who are feeling suicidal. I'm in the zone. And I asked them, you know, do you actually want to die? Or if you could find another way to end the pain, would you carry on living and just end the pain?
Yeah, that's a good
And
question.
99% of the time people say, I just want this pain to end.
Yeah, bless them.
So then I say, well, okay, let's see what options there are. And then coming back to Viktor Frankl in the concentration camps,
Yes.
that even in those horrendous circumstances, like he considered suicide himself, but when you find meaning, it's possible to get through it.
God, that's so
It's
inspiring.
crucial. Like he chose to carry on for the hope that he would meet his wife at some stage, and he also wanted to put his knowledge in writing, so to help humanity, to serve humanity. And in those times when I was in such pain, I would get these flashes that maybe I could overcome this, and maybe I could use this experience to help others who are going through it.
Good.
And maybe I could set up an organization at some stage. Who knows?
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
Sure have.
You have, and you're taking it to the streets. You're on YouTube sharing your experience on your channel. Again, I'm going to give the shout out to that. That's the Charles Bannon YouTube channel.
But it took 25 years of training. Well, I've done a degree and 2 master's degrees, and I've 25 years of experience working with people before I got to set up my own thing. But it was all like steps along the way.
Yes.
You know, like you plant a little acorn, and that acorn has the potential to become a huge, great big oak tree.
It does. It sure
But it takes
does.
hundreds of years. I mean, you don't get from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds. Everything has to happen in its own time, according to nature.
A lot
So
of
we
people
grow in
want
our own time as well.
Yeah, they want to go 0 to
Yeah,
60. I mean, that's a lot of the an instant gratification. I was going to ask really quick for the
yeah.
books of Victor that you read. What are the books that you read that inspired you? What was the first encounter that you had
Well,
with Victor's teachings?
his most popular book is Man's Search for Meaning, and
Mm,
that's where he talks about not only his experience in the concentration camp, but what he used to get him through that experience.
mm.
And there's another book called The Unheard Cry for Meaning. There's The Will to Meaning. Um, there's Man's Ultimate Search for Meaning. By the way, he uses the word man a lot.
Uh-huh.
He was writing from the 1940s right up to the 90s, I think.
Hmm.
And English was a foreign language to him, and that's the way people spoke at the time. They meant the human
Yeah.
being, so it's not sexist,
No, yeah, it totally
although it
means
might appear
human.
that way.
Yeah, some people might take it that way, but with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Theosophical teachings, it's 19th century. So I'm used to hearing that. And man, know thyself
yeah.
all the way back. I wanted to cover what you wanted to cover. And I know you were talking about your empathetic journey as you come through. Would you say that when you were born, you were as empathetic as you are now? Did you come in this empathetic? Or were you made more empathetic by your experiences that were very traumatic and painful?
I don't know. I remember when I would get bored with life, I would just I would focus all my attention on a certain point in front of me.
Hmm.
So, and basically I was meditating without knowing I was meditating. And that was a way to make an hour pass in 2 or 3 minutes.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
I remember my first 3 years in school. After a break, from 1 to 2 o'clock, we might have good fun on the break, and then 2 to 3, I was not interested in schoolwork.
Really?
So I would focus my attention on a speck on the wall, or on a picture on the wall. And I remember saying to someone, you know, the way you can just look at something on the wall and then an hour passes in 2 or 3 minutes, and they're going, no, I don't know what you're talking about.
But you were
So
comfortable enough to say that. And so did other children ever say that they understood that? And I bet now, can you still do that? Can you still look at the wall or something in the distance if you need to get up?
yeah,
Really?
when I started doing martial arts at the age of 17, I did it again.
Yeah. With that the same
And
kind of,
I practiced martial arts that way
yeah.
to be really focused and concentrated. And later I discovered that's called mindfulness practice,
Yeah.
or it's a form of meditation. So for myself, when I do martial arts,
Yeah.
it's like, well, the philosophy of martial arts, it's about self-growth as well, and self-discovery. So the dojo, where martial arts practice, is traditionally known as a sacred space. It
Hmm.
means the way of the path.
Yes. The path,
So
the
the
path.
outside space, yeah. So the outside space is for everyday life, what Mircea Eliade would call the profane space. And
Yes.
then when you enter the dojo, you bow as a sign of respect to the sacred and to those in there, those who are present.
Mm.
Not everybody practices it this way,
Hmm.
but that's how I practice it. That's what's in my mind. And I go in, I'm in a sacred space, and I, I I do everything as mindfully as I can. And the thing is, I'm very particular who I train with. If someone is not showing me respect, I don't waste my time.
Good for you.
The people I train with we're very close. We trust each other. I mean, doing the techniques we do, we have each other in very vulnerable situations.
Mm.
So you really have to trust the person that you're with.
Mm.
And we're great friends, you know,
Good.
and they put up with my jokes.
They're good jokes.
um, yeah, yeah. But for me, you cannot fake yourself when you're doing martial arts. If you're scared, it shows. If you're confident, it shows. If you're not sure, it shows. If you learn something new, it shows. So I use others as a mirror to see what's going on within myself.
That is beautiful. Stop that right there. What that was gorgeous, what you just said. You use others as a
Mhm.
mirror to see what's going on inside yourself. That is very
Yeah.
wise. Can you expand on that, please? Did you hear what he said? Listen.
Yeah, I said I use others as a mirror to see what's
Mhm,
going on inside myself.
mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
the same when I'm in therapy or when I'm with people. Not like any human being, I lose concentration at times. That's normal because obviously I'm not perfect. Ask anyone who knows me. I'm certainly not perfect.
You're
But
close. You're close.
but bringing the meditative attitude into everything I do,
Hmm.
it helps me to progress further. So if someone comes out with a statement and I might react to that, I might feel, oh, I can't think of an example right now.
That's okay.
It's easy to get on with people who think the same way as you.
Yeah.
But when someone is showing you another part of the elephant, you're going, hey, what are you talking about there?
There's no tusk there.
So all these emotions can arise, all these thoughts can arise, and oh, they have no idea what they're talking about, but maybe they do.
Yeah, for them they do. It's their truth. It's just as true to them as your truth is to you. And we need to be able to be brotherly, not just with people that think like us, but people that think completely opposite and absolutely hate us. I mean, and wish us harm. We need to be cohabitating and coexisting with them on this planet because we share this planet and this is all one thing. You mentioned the reflection. You said to reflect really quick. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to get back on that. You looked outside of yourself to see yourself reflected back. That is such a wise statement. And I don't know what you incorporate in your lessons or your counseling, but everything they say is a reflection of you. It's really all about you, and nature is the church, the reflection of you. I see you nodding your head. Would you mind really quick expanding, if you can, on that premise of everything is a reflection of you? Can you, to your best ability, expand on that a little bit for our audience? That would be really lovely, please.
Okay, well, in therapy and in psychotherapy and in social work, they talk about reflective practice. So for example, supposing you're dealing with someone who is, they might have done something that you don't approve of. So for example, when I worked in child protection services, I met some people who treated children in ways that I don't approve of. Okay, I'll give you an example. When I was teaching social workers, I gave them a few questions to answer. I asked them to feedback on the classes that I'd given and tell me 3 things that went well, 3 things that didn't go well, anything else that you'd like to mention. So about 98% of the students gave their pros and their cons and what could do better, and I could actually grow from that. Then 1 or 2 people said, I really didn't like your classes. I thought they were quite boring, actually. I went back to the class after, without naming anybody. I said, okay, I fed back exactly as I'm after explaining to you now, okay? So I said, okay, there was a little exercise in this. When you're dealing with someone who's doing something that you don't approve of, like a parent who has not treated their kids very well, you can't just make a judgment and an assessment of, well, I don't like you. Okay, maybe you don't like the person. You got to be fair. You got to deliver justice. And delivering justice might mean giving them the opportunity to improve themselves. And you're required to do that anyway. Give the person the opportunity to improve themselves. Well, okay, it's paramount to keep a child safe in this. But you can't just say, well, I don't like you, so I'm going to throw the book at you. I'm going to take your kids off you. I'm going to make you suffer because I don't like what you did.
Yeah,
you don't have to like what they did,
right?
But you got to give them the opportunity to improve. Unless you're talking about a really, really serious, dangerous situation where the safest thing is to get the kids out of there.
But you can remove your ego from wanting to prove that person wrong and punish them. That lower self wants to right the wrong and be this, police officer and absolutely like launch wars because that person insulted me, or whatever. But they can't insult you unless you take it personal, and nothing is personal. It just isn't. It's a reflection of what's happening inside them at the moment. That's just how they're feeling. So what they're saying to you, that's how I look at it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just reminded again of Stephanie Lynn, who made another, I can't think of the exact words she said, but she said something along the lines of, if you knew how much, if someone insults you, if you knew how much that is about themselves, rather than you would never take it personally.
Yes, say that again. That is so beautiful. Listen, listen, listen. This is what Living Theosophy is about. practicing these principles, please listen to Charlie say this once again, what his friend Stephanie said. It's true. Go.
Okay. Well, I don't actually know Stephanie, but she has her
Oh,
own YouTube channel. She's a wife, and she has some really good things to say. She's from Boston, actually. But she said, if somebody insults you and you knew how much that insult is about themselves rather than you would never take an insult personally.
That's the truth. They can only reflect what's inside of them. They cannot define you. It's impossible because they can only speak from their perspective. So it's true. It's not about you. It's never about you unless it comes out of you.
I was just going to say, I have to admit, although I get that, it's still really hard not to take it personally.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it?
And it is a journey, and I have to remind myself of that. And as I've gotten older, though, it gets a little bit easier because I can hear it. I hear it when I say something. If I'm irritated and somebody says something and I say something, I go, that was a little bit sharp. And I'm like, oh my God, that's because I'm upset about whatever, blah, 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 blah. And it has nothing to do with that person. Like road rage. Somebody cuts you off. They're not picking on you going, oh, I can't wait till Charlie leaves his house. I'm going to pull out in front of him and piss him off. Has nothing to do with you. They have to go to the bathroom. They're on their way somewhere. They're having a baby. Their mom died. Their tire went flat. It's not to do with you. But so many of us, we do take it personal, but it's not personal. It'll save you a lot of drama. If you listen to Stephanie's wisdom there, you don't have to take it from me. I was going to ask you really quick because we're already coming up on, believe it or not, look at our time. Isn't that crazy? It seems like 5 seconds. You mentioned the voice of the silence. And I think that might've been one of the ways you commented over here on this channel. Really quick, if you'd like to hear the voice of the silence, it is for free. I have voiced it for you. It's here. I'll put links down below. You can get a free PDF. Could you expand a little bit about your thoughts on this sacred text and how you use it in your therapies, or what you'd like to say about it, just how you feel about it?
Okay, well, I've been reading The Voice of the Silence for 30 years at this stage. And when I read it first, I hardly understood anything, only it resonated with me, and that there was a line, point thou the way to others. When you figured out how to get over a problem, show others how to do it.
That's what you're doing.
Yes, that was the first thing. Now, over the years, I've understood it more and more deeply. And one of the most obvious ones for me is with mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. The mind is the great slayer of the real. Let the disciples slay the slayer. So that is always in my mind.
Okay.
So with mindfulness practice, often it's natural that our mind wanders into the future and into the past. We imagine how things are going to turn out. And it's a great cause of anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
I don't know, the window is going to fall in. I'm going to cut myself in the glass. I'm going to need an ambulance. Maybe there's not going to be an ambulance available. What if I bleed to death? Rather than, oops, the window fell in. I got to do something. I got to fix the window. Or we might think about the past and have regrets about things that we cannot change because we cannot change the past. We might worry about the way we've done something.
Yes.
So the thing in mindfulness practice is to return to the present always. So our mind can create all these scenarios about what I would have done, what I should have done, what I could have done, or what's going to happen, what might happen, how terrible it's going to be. So it creates turmoil. It creates mountains out of molehills. So mindfulness brings it back to the present moment. And the great saying of mindfulness is that it is what it is.
It is, isn't it? It is what it is.
It is what it is. And then the mind starts to wander and tell stories again about what's going on or what's going to happen, or, what that person meant to insult me, like we said a moment ago.
They didn't.
It is what it is. It's nothing to do with me.
It doesn't. And that's very freeing. If you take nothing away, take that away and apply it. It doesn't have anything to do with you. It'll save yourself months and lifetimes, years of drama. Slay the slayer. I just wanted to see if you could, because that's really a confusing thing. A lot of people pontificate on that and they think about, what does that mean? And I know you gave us a few examples there, but in one sentence, somebody who's reading Voice of the Silence and they hear that, how can it slay the slayer? Can you just really quick encapsulate in a very short period of time what that means to
Okay,
you.
well, the slayer is the, as they call the Raja of the senses, or the king of the senses, the thought producer, he who awakes illusion. So
Yes.
that's, so if you look at cognitive therapy or mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, they say our thoughts are not necessarily real. They're simply thoughts, and that there's a difference between what we think and who we are. Okay? So can I show you something here?
Of course, yes.
I can't see myself on the screen. Okay, this is my charioteer.
Yeah. Is
This
that
is
a
a
Trojan? It's a
metaphor for the
Roman, isn't
human
it?
being.
Yep.
So the chariot represents the physical body. The horses represent the mind.
Uh-huh.
So the one horse is thoughts, the other is emotions.
Yes.
So the way we react to things, both with thoughts and emotions. So we see a situation, and the horses take the chariot all over the place. They go off the path. They go into the fields. They go into the forest. They go over cliff edge. One
Yes.
horse wants to move to the left. The other wants to go to
Yes.
the right. One
Yes.
wants to rest. One wants to run around. So that is the mind slaying the real. Now we got the charioteer
Yep.
who can manage the horses
Yep.
by saying, okay, horses, enough of the drama. Let's get back on the road. Let's get back on the path. So the reins are consciousness. He uses the reins to direct the horses. So this is the mind slaying the real, and this charioteer is what they call the silent observer.
Yes.
We call it that in mindfulness practice. So the
Yes.
silent observer, the voice of the silence, that calms the drama
Yes.
and helps us to get back on the path. The mind is very powerful. It's very strong. So there will always be drama. So because there always is drama, and the charioteer is trying to take consciousness back, that's what we call the inner battle.
And that is the slaying of the slayer, is it not? Is that what you're
Yes.
talking about? The consciousness then
Yes.
comes in. Yes, that is the most brilliant analogy and visual I've ever seen. Thank you. Thank you so much. That was
Thank you.
beautiful. This is so nice to be able to have it off of the pages and in real life. You're using it, and you even had visual aids, Charlie. You had visual aids, and it's lovely to see this book and these teachings, these universal principles coming in from all places, not just Theosophy, but Theosophy is really, it's all intertwined in that. And that's what we call it. We call it Theosophy. Theos meaning God, Sophia meaning wisdom, but it's humans' instruction manual. It is our instruction manual that's been around since the beginning of time. And as Charlie said earlier in this broadcast, he said, now remember, everybody has access. You can be anything you want to. You don't have to go to a society. You don't have to go to a church. Please don't. It's not inside those buildings. It's inside of you. And like he showed you, that the thoughts and emotions, you can control these, and you can control your world. You can actually change your life. You can create a better life for yourself. You have control over you. That's the only thing you do have control over. And Charlie, you have just been fantastic. I wish we had more time. I hope you come back again. Will you come back again?
I would love to.
Oh,
There's so much more I'd like to explain.
I want you to come back every day. That would be great. I'd like that. But I know you've got a lot of work to do. So I want to tell you where to find Charlie. Charlie, remember, I hammered this early in the broadcast earlier. It is the Charles Bannon YouTube channel. So stop what you're doing right now. Stop this video, click over there, sign up and subscribe. Click the bell icon as well. You can also find him at the nooeticcenter.com. That's with 2 O's. So it's Nooetic center.com. And Charlie is, again, I want to read this to you. This is his ethos. He wants to, serve humanity selflessly. He's doing this through the promotion of optimal mental health via the integration of mysticism and science. So he is bringing these teachings that are available to you. You can find them. Go download Voice of the Silence if you want to. It's free down below. You can click the link, you get a free copy, read it. Or if you don't want to read it, listen to it. It's on here as a video, as an audiobook. You can listen to it. Just listen to it and see what it says. It might sound like a metaphysical poem, has nothing to do with you, but the more you listen to it, the more it reveals itself. And if it ticks that box, if anything Charlie has said in this video has inspired you, I promise you there's way more where that came from. And you can apply that, and your life you can apply that, and your life will change. I believe it will change for the better, and all of humanity, because to ease the unnecessary suffering of all beings is why I do what I do here, is to try to get these teachings out there, why Charlie does what he does. And I'll give you some closing words, Charlie. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you'd like to cover before we go?
Yeah, I'll just like to finish with two questions I used to ask my students when I taught
Oh,
in university.
okay.
Because I was dealing with student social workers.
Mhm.
We're going to be going out into the world, dealing with people in vulnerable situations. So the first question was, if you take a 20-year-old man who has just become homeless, he has a history of depression and suicidality, what's his future going to be like by the time he's in his mid-40s?
Mm.
So they would always paint a bleak picture. He's going to be addicted. He's probably going to be dead. He's going to be stealing because he has to feed his drug habit. And I understand why they give those answers because there are so many examples.
Mhm.
And my next question was, well, did you ever think this guy would be standing in front of you, one of your lecturers in university one day? So that got their attention. But why did I say that? It's not about, oh, I'm so great, I'm so fantastic. Viktor Frankl said, when you see someone, um, try not just to see them as they are, but take them as they should be, and you make them capable of becoming what they can be.
So beautiful.
So I said you are doing people a disservice if you see someone who's homeless or who's addicted or who's suffered sexual abuse and they're traumatized, and you're saying, well, that's your life, that's all you're ever going to have. It doesn't have to be that way. It
No, it doesn't have to
doesn't have
be.
to be that way.
It doesn't. I love that you can see the potential in humans. I love that you don't judge. I love that you are there to serve in whatever way they need to be met. What you are doing is a gift. Thank you so much for all that you are and do, Charlie. You are such a pleasure. You truly are.
Thank you as well. It's wonderful talking to you, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity you've given me
Oh, well, thank you for
today.
commenting on that video so I could see your beautiful light shining and so I could reach out to you and connect because I'd love to have you on again. If you have anything going on that you'd like to come on and share, just think of Living Theosophy as our channel because it's all of us. It isn't just about me. This is about literally putting the teachings into practice in the lifetime that we're in instead of just, oh, study it sometime and maybe if I die and go off to heaven, I can revisit these teachings. It has to do with today, like suicide, like bipolar, like you've been diagnosed with cancer, like you're being, abused in a relationship you need to get out of and you have no money. That's when the theosophical teachings, that's when they come in. It isn't about when you get everything great and you can sit on a Sunday and, sip a cup of tea and read these teachings and you can maybe apply them when you're on holiday. That's not what it's for. It's actually to navigate the world, control your thoughts, control your mind, change your thoughts, change your mind, change the way things are happening around your world by changing yourself. You are a part of a much bigger picture, much bigger, and you are far greater than you ever knew. You are far more powerful than you ever knew. You have the abilities. And this can happen right now. And it isn't about following Charlie or following me. It's about following your nose. And if this inspires you, follow it. I'll put some links down below. Begin your path and go out into the world and let your light shine and influence others by the way that you're living your life. So thank you, Charlie. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.